Welcome back to another episode of F-Zero Ending It All. Last time, our heroes had managed to accomplish the semifinals. Unfortunately, Rodney Stewart and his hospital got ransacked by Dark Million, and the formula was stolen. Dr. Stewart actually got his own experiment back, and so Rodney Stewart has been taken to Dark Star. So, what will become the fate of him and the rest of the task force? Well, we'll see. Alright, lap 14. Rick was training strenuously, using every simulation Falcon had in his possession, including the Phantom Road. He couldn't seem to get the championship and even Rodney's upcoming fate out of his mind. Neither could Tinsel. She wanted to practice using Falcon's courses, but they agreed not to with Gomar and Shioh for confidential reasons. She remembered the first time when she noticed an enormous structure transform right before her eyes, as she, Yugi, and Joey found a duelist. It was a rare sight since most people were interested in F-Zero racing instead. To calm her mind, Tinsel was returning to the place where it was the most tranquil and sentimental. Her remaining friends, Drac, Leon, and the duelists, were arriving in Port Town. Sabotage there resulted one of the Robs missing. Tinsel noticed it during her second visit, and she wondered what Dark Million would use it for. He soon stopped at the outskirts, and the canine asked, "Tinsel, why did you stop?" She was gazing up at the sky. "Don't you want to absorb its beauty? This place always has the best sunset with its mesmerizing blues, reds, and indigos." She took a deep sigh as she reflected. "Makes a wonderful sight. At least that hasn't changed in 13 years. The sky was so dramatic that she and her allies climbed out and sat on top of their machines, watching the city light up as the sky grew into more darker purple. Yugi and Joey sat on their dragons, Time Mace, and Crucius. Hermos was still in its card. Sorry for the mispronunciation. Leon spoke after a silence that seemed to have lasted into eternity. Could you guys excuse us for a minute? I need to talk to Tinsel. Alone? Yeah, I guess. Fine by me. Shall we? Let's. Don't be long, Drax said as he wobbled toward the group. When it turned quiet, Tinsel asked in concern, "I knew you would talk to me in private one of these days. Spit it out already." "Tinsel, if this were to be our last race, there's something that you need to know." "What is it?" "It's about a pilot I used to meet. He was once a mentor to Black Shadow and his minions, and soon the Federation's. His name is James. He owns the Little Wyvern and has a wife and son. Thinking that he was a traitor, they abandoned him. He has been in the shadows ever since." "What's your point?" "My point is that we should find him. Maybe he can help us deal with Black Shadow and possibly know the whereabouts of Jody and Stewart. Maybe help us prepare for the last race. There's only one person who could help us find him, but even he's very elusive." "I know what you're saying. Falcon's actually busy training himself and Rick for the championship. Let's search every crowded street. He should be here. At least I think so. Let's hope he hasn't been relocated." "I'm with you, Tinsel. We all are." They went to the others and they were off in search of the mysterious pilot. As the team split up, Tinsel and Gomar and Shioh eventually wound up near an abandoned base with a strange logo on it. It was a faded dark blue with a huge white atom in the middle. The words Galaxy Dog appeared thrice encircling the image. "I hope this is the place." To answer her question, both she and the Fury Cakes were blinded by a large spotlight. "That's a little bright, don't you think?" "Halt! Who goes there?" "It's me, Tinsel Steelus, and these are my friends Gomar and Shioh from the planet Huck Mine." We came here so we could find you and that you could help us practice for the finals. That's the Silver Comet and the twin Narita? That's us. The lamp shut off and their eyes took a few moments to readjust. Proceed. Just then the titanium door opened slowly, allowing the pilots to enter. They emerged into a courtyard of sorts, and the steel compound surrounded them as the military man stepped out. He wore sunglasses, a red scarf, a green shirt with silver coat covering it, and tights. Skinny boots reached his knees, and his dark brown hair stuck up at the sides like canine ears. He motioned them to leave their vehicles, shoving his head to the left. Greetings, everyone. I am James McLeod, the leader of a squadron called the Galaxy Dogs. We strive on being the best warfighters both in the sky and in deep space. Discipline is our top priority around here. His demeanor seemed to have intimidated the trio. Uh, Nice to meet you. No time for talk, Missy. I hear you've all qualified for the championship at Lightning. Did you not? Along with Rick Wheeler and Captain Falcon? Yeah, we have. I suppose you all have been financially prepared. These training sessions don't come cheap, you know. Do you accept money digitally? Indeed. Anyway, satisfactory. One could get the feeling the money was intended for defenses. There was reason for suspicion seeing as he knew about the sabotage. Yet Tinsel never asked. On her key she withdrew 100 space credits. The duo did the same. They simultaneously chirped when the transaction was confirmed, and then downloaded to James's. Let's get started. Race begins in 2 days, so I don't want any lollygagging. Let's move. Follow me. Bring your machines. They hesitantly did just that, though they didn't know someone slipped in from the outside as the entrance was open. From that small structure, Jim was in charge of a cockpit. It was a training session to test their agility by avoiding volleys of bullets. They kept raining down on each of the hapless machines. The clanging almost hurt their ears and they left many dents. Come on, you useless maggots! This is a way to become more evasive by dodging enemy fire. Black Shadow and his cronies would never stop being reckless. And even they can throw a few trick plays. Get your heads in the game and out of your asses! Oh, that's very helpful. Steering her machine as sharply as possible. Yeah, but we can do this. Once the bullets rained down, the two machines were on their way, moving as intended. At least it seemed that way at first. In the early few seconds, Gomar and Shioh found slight marks on the ground and used them as guardrails, avoiding them at every possible turn. To see the twin Narita moving in such a fashion was to compare it to a fly moving with supreme control. Silver Comet, on the other hand, found itself nicked by one of two stray bullets. Tinsel knew well ahead that this was not going to be easy, but she tried her best to read the situation and dodge the bullets. However, no matter where she moved, she still heard her metal being hit. Once the volley of bullets stopped, both machines arrived near Jim to hear their evaluation. Looks like you two are the perfect decoys. Unlike you, who's been slacking off. Sir, this wasn't easy. You see, I just had some of my components replaced by— I don't need your excuses, cadet. Now, you three lazy lumps, follow me. There's a good old course I want you to see. His voice was lowered for a bit, yet Tinsel still found a harshness in his tone. Another session featured courses that were about 50 feet high off the ground. Tinsel thought it to be a special treat as one of the courses were designed after the Queen and King leagues of old. The latter boasted sharper curves and was much longer than the former. Comet and Narita were idle while Jim stood by at the starting line. This doesn't matter who wins. It is only a friendly competition. Survive and conquer it. After 8 seconds, the officer shot a pistol into the air, signaling the drivers. During the trial, the sharp drill sergeant noticed how heavily the Silver Comet descended. As he saw how the jump plates were being used, he jotted some notes down, scoffing as he did. He could only wait to see how Tinsel and the Silver Comet would do in the more difficult course, one adorned with several lethal turns. It was bad enough that Tinsel had to slow down constantly while Gomar and Shioh were suffering as they kept on hitting the walls. At the second lap, the rival machine decided to cheat a little as it soared to the right on the second jump. Gomar mentioned to Shioh to take it, and Jim noticed the stunt through the binoculars. He summoned a large UFO-like machine from a portable remote that picked the pair up from a tractor beam at the underside. It forced them back a few inches. This actually allowed the comet to catch up. They clashed with each other from time to time, but no one was backing down. Neither had the need to use any side or spin attacks. The booster fire was completely out of the question. The difficult curves and obstacles were bad enough. By the time it was over, Tinsel won. They cheerfully returned to their coach after their victory lap. "See, Jim? I told you we'd ace this." "Sorry for cheating, sir." He wasn't impressed to their discouragement. "You made a very risky move on your part, Hawk Miners. This was supposed to be no contest, but yet you acted foolishly to win it. Never make that same mistake, as it could cost you your pathetic lives." They both drooped their heads in shame. "And you may have won that race. You're extremely lucky while you kept slowing down at each sharp turn. I appreciate your humbleness, but you still have failed miserably." "What? What do you mean? Where did I go wrong?" "Your comet was far too heavy when it landed after each jump plate. You need to make a longer distance and soar like a comet should. You're just a fallen meteor on that race." "But how?" Her mind shifted to the gap temporarily before Jim was able to snap her out of her reverie. "Tinsel! Daydreaming won't save you either. The mind must always be as sharp as a great white's tooth. I'm incredibly surprised you hadn't mastered it. Every pilot knows how to make longer jumps better than you can." "I don't understand this at all. How can any other racer soar more? This doesn't make any sense that everyone can make that gap except me." She told him about the incident 13 years ago. She never wanted to talk to anyone else about it, let alone a stranger. "And what makes you think you could win? You're the only one who never made it. I saw that accident on television at that time. I was only starting out as an F-Zero pilot until I noticed Galaxy Dog wasn't getting a lot of monetary support. You're determined but fragile. You must be able to leap over troubling pits like this one." "You will show me? Could this really be my chance to overcome my worst fear?" "Don't get all emotional on me, Tinsel. I've already lost my empathy with my family. I can't let you make the situation at hand more intolerable than it is. Follow my lead, and I shall demonstrate." He brought over the little wyvern. It was nothing she had ever seen before. It was built very much like a fighter craft with its elongated wings, narrow sharp-pointed nose, and had a lustrous gray body. He parked beside the comet at the exact spot where the race began. He was the one who hit the jumps first, and he was almost literally flying, just like a miniature jet while the wings opened and closed. He stopped after the second hop and observed her. She was still sinking rapidly after each of the plates. She hesitated next to Jim, and she was so perplexed in how he was able to make longer ascents than her. "You need to raise the nose to make a lighter drop, and a longer leap. You have to hold back the bars as you make a tight grip, allowing the G diffuser to have less of an effect. Pushing the thrusters forward would cause the vehicle to land harder. You got that?" "I think so." Taking lessons in mind, she thought about how she could use her newly acquired knowledge to cross the gap in the Whiteland track. She wasn't very thrilled at the thought, and it was best not to dwell on it. She went away for a few miles, turned back, and leapt over the pit. At that same time, she instantly yanked back the controls, allowing the comet to catch more air and land safely. She hardly even noticed the impact as she felt it was being lifted by a strong updraft. She was shocked by the performance, and she almost lost control. Vera Cakes were ecstatic that it really worked, as was Tinsel. "That's it!" However, she missed the other plate before she hit the dirt, slowing her down. Made it! So this is how they do it. Indeed. Tinsel looked up with shiny eyes. Oh, how could I ever repay you? You already did. You and the Huck miners paid me for these tedious dry runs. Tinsel didn't feel so bad. While she may have failed in the first session as Gomar and Shioh succeeded, mastering the long jump was even better than anything else. They were returning to base to retry the bullet dodge until she heard a whispering noise after she exited the cockpit. She looked over and walked toward the silhouette hiding behind a dome-shaped war tent. She could barely make out the six-armed figure. He lowered his raised limbs as she treaded toward it. Octaman? Is that you? How did you get past security? She theorized that the place would definitely have plenty of safety protocols since Jim mentioned he needed the cash to defend against various intergalactic threats, including Darkmillion. Never mind how, Tinsel. Thinking she heard a sound, she looked back and saw nothing. What are you doing here? Listen, I followed all of you here. I know why you're training with James McLeod. I actually heard of your plight involving the finals and Rodney Stewart. Black Shadow means business. Heed my words, just in case I get caught in the Galaxy Dog's net. They're vicious. I was afraid you'd say that, as if their leader wasn't aggressive enough. According to the Takoran, James McLeod was a criminal. He warned her that he trained all F-Zero pilots, including those that were in the task force, as well as Darkmillion, making him a traitor to his cause. He's actually a mercenary, always caring about having money in his pocket, and never emphasizing for anyone he trains. Squadron he created, the Galaxy Dogs, helped the Federation to defend the universe. Yet working with the enemy made her very uneasy. She was so excited to show her friends what she could do, that she actually lost sight on who James McLeod was. She managed to escape avoiding all the spotlights, and she kept hiding herself from the cameras as she attempted to blend into the opaque compound. She looked up the intel inside the comet. For the most part, much of James McLeod's story was true, but info on his machine revealed it had an E-level body strength, among the worst in its class, but it had a boost in grip strength in the B class. It was known as one of the modified fighter jets belonging to the Galaxy Dogs. Jim actually convinced Space Dynamics to make this contraption. James McLeod alone was the main suspect. She entered the area with the watchtower, and then she aimed her nozzles while she tried to dodge more bullets. She kept going around until she found her target. She shot out 2 ice beams, freezing the machine gun. This instantly disabled it, and Jim lost all control. You goddamn crotch-licking! Pilots heard the sergeant shouting and swearing unintelligibly inside. What did you do? You froze the machine gun. Let's just say that it's time for a little payback. James isn't the man he claims himself to be. He's nothing but a rebel to his own squadron and his trainees. What? Before she had the chance to explain, they saw him step up to the comet. Tinsel exited and marched toward her new adversary wearing a face of hatred. I know all about the Galaxy Dogs. You're very canny, Jim. What the hell are you talking about? You think you're a fair soldier? I've seen your records thanks to 2 friends of mine. One of them knows what you've done on this home planet, and another obtained some data to prove it. You always believe that you and your squadron have a squeaky clean reputation and are all that at a bag of chips. You guys are nothing but scoundrels, only going for the gold. Literally. In other words, you worked for Darkmillion and caused nothing but sabotage over your own greed. How dare you say such blasphemy? You ungrateful slut! You should be thankful that I was the one who taught you to make longer leaps with your wasted machine. That machine happens to be made by the late Dr. Clash. Gave up his life for us. That infuriated Tinsel so much that all she wanted to do was destroy the corrupt man in front of her. That it was his mistake for creating it. Even I could do a far superior job than him. But no matter, since you're nothing but a... He pushed Tinsel a few inches back forcefully. Then he did it again and she lunged back. The Huck miners just stood there as they watched her right arm being bent in a dislocating fashion. Then James's face was splattered with a gooey substance. Her arm was free, though pretty sore. She did use her left arm and held out a pistol as Octaman appeared. Jim took off his soiled shades, revealing his copper eyes, and grinding his teeth. Tinsel's innocent. She's not wrong. She was the one who donated a portion of her prize money to my home world, Cora. My people have been hunted down like dogs by the Federation, and it's always torn by bloodshed and poverty. You should know this by now since you too are a veteran, yet you follow a tainted path as you took advantage of the Galaxy Dogs and manipulated the platoon's belief about us. Our ways of living and our existence has been tarnished because of you. Wait till the task force hears about this. That put the treacherous man on edge. He actually went on his hind heels and slipped into the little wyvern. Octaman and Tinsel climbed into their corresponding machines and went on the pursuit as they saw their enemy leave the compound, kicking up sand in the idle faces of the extraterrestrials. Startled, they decided unanimously to alert the first person that they came to mind. Rick! Rick! You gotta help us! I hope Falcon's with you! He was lucky he was still inside the Dragon Bird. Simulation just began to run. Gomar? Shioh? He listened on all the transpired events, putting him in a sense of utter shock. At once, Port Town's allies felt a gust of wind. The Silver Comet moved at lightning speed, avoiding the walls and careless pedestrians with only one target in mind. The Deep Claw was on her tail. The Wyvern actually slowed and bashed onto it to the point where sparks flew. Ow! Tinsel made a side attack. However, it caused a chain reaction that made the octopus skid and collide into a wall. The Wyvern was weak, but it managed to hang in there. Tinsel needed to find a way to cut him off. Otherwise, she'd be goner if he should clip her. A ramp was visible to the right. She had to take it, or else she was forced to try her luck with a wider turn and lose even more time. For a moment, she saw the horrific Whiteland gap, but very quickly she put it out of her mind. She needed to be at her best if she was chasing down a criminal. At the incline, she felt her machine hop into the air, but she immediately knew what to do. She adjusted her control in the air, pulling the nose back, but she also made sure it wasn't lurched too far. As a result, she gained a bit of speed while keeping it quite level. Meanwhile, the little wyvern slowed down, anticipating her crashing onto the surface just before it. Yet that didn't happen. Silver Comet landed right onto the little wyvern's front and boosted right off of it. Quickly, she leaned over to the left in order to create a giant U-turn and block its further passage into the major streets. For a moment, Tinsel experienced some glee conquering it, but she remembered exactly what needed to be done. The cockpit opened up and she pulled out a gun. Freeze, scumbag! She shot out a volley of ice, freezing the wyvern gradually on contact. Jim managed to jump out of the cockpit as his precious machine made a few wipeouts and then exploded. Octaman grabbed the stunned pilot with all his inky, firm arms. Before James was apprehended by the platoon with its cruiser sirens wailing, he explained he used to have a close friend in the military named O'Donnell. They joined the army together, and Tinsel was astonished that it wasn't really the Air Force. They were on a mission soaring over some thick canopy. One evening, they received orders to extract their men from an enemy base. They were in a massive air carrier, and it was attacked by bullets and firebombs. Rescue 101 has been hit. We're going down. Damn! They ran from the wreckage and wound up in an onslaught somewhere deep within the jungles. It was a perfect place for an ambush since it was so dark during the wee hours in the foreign terrain. James was injured from the crash. Then O'Donnell ran toward the group of terrorists, resulting in his demise. O'Donnell! No one saw me, so I was able to escape. That night changed my life forever. I never trusted anyone anymore. And neither could anyone ever trust you. You have no soul, McLeod. We were nothing but tools here. The officers loaded him in the slammer. Jim was relieved that his family wasn't there to see this humiliation, being that he lost a close friend during a combat mission and abandoned his men in the process. Tinsel felt that he actually lost himself, that he no longer cared about his new cadets or only using them for his financial gain. He had no heart nor any values, not even his own wife and son. All he does go for was cold hard cash since he didn't seem to give a damn that Dark Million is a threat to the galaxy. As the hero saw Jim being pulled away permanently, Tinsel wondered what would become of his squadron. She never felt so torn. One day, you will find atonement for what you've done. She shielded her eyes while she was blinded by the bright lights ahead. She could barely make out the Blue Falcon and the Dragon Bird in the distance. The two pilots ran to her. Are you all right? Yeah, we were going to save you. From what? Rick and Falcon heard a distress call from Gomar and Shioh and discovered there had been an accident somewhere in the back streets. By trusting their instincts, they followed the trail. It was actually both Tinsel and Octaman who stopped James McCloud in that fierce hunt. Falcon filled in the gaps. Because of James's criminal activity, his son Todd will take his place as squadron leader and leave his father strained. Thanks to Falcon, even the commissioner was convinced from the cephalopod's redemption. James's fate remained unknown because due to his treachery, he would either serve a very hefty prison time and or a permanent cold sleep in planet Alcatraz. Rick was very surprised that a former traitor managed to put a stop to a spy for Dark Million. Looks like we owe you one, Octaman, especially for what you did when you prevented Miss Killer from winning at the Cosmo terminal. We'll settle on this later, Wheeler. We do have the championship after all. Octaman, could you make a promise? Will you be there and root for us when we march on for the title? He accepted with a wink and drove elsewhere in a deep claw. Duelists recently briefed in they will go with them and put their monsters on standby like they did last year in case Black Shadow and his minions would cause another accident. Because of Jim's absence, Tinsel freely invited Falcon, Rick, and the Fear Cakes to the advanced version of the old circuit. Rick was impressed that the Comet was able to make a longer leap than it did before, and the twin Narita mastered its tactics on misdirection and agility. After the race with Falcon as the victor, she explained that it was Jim who taught them before Octaman and Clank unveiled his true colors. She was a little miffed they knew them before they knew how to make longer distances and they didn't tell her how. Rick assumed she already knew, but sadly she didn't. He wondered if she could use that same technique and offered her to try it at Whiteland. She immediately turned sour. No, no! I'm not going back there! I am not going back there! I am not going back there! She shook her head. Nope! The last thing she wanted was to re-experience the course she had long dreaded for over a decade. Tinsel never wanted to go back, at least not until Black Shadow would be defeated for good, much as the perpetrator having his tail between his ironized legs. Just noticed the trope, canon foreigner, canon immigrants. Hopefully these characters will become them. Hopefully they'll have an appearance in Smash Bros, which they didn't. This is actually non-canon info. James McCloud is only a mercenary and didn't really design the Port Town courses. It would be quite interesting if he did, though, including the UFO and used for the Grand Prix 13 years prior. And here he was the architect of both things, and his technicians from the Galaxy Dogs built the two courses and the spacecraft. Duelists made an appearance again, but I wasn't really into the latter seasons, as the dragons may give you a hint. It just became more and more complicated as the show went on, and I was a casual fan. Last course is Lightning Thunder Road. Shout out to the Grand Prix in GX, the AX Cup. You can unlock it with a memory card, but it's only from those rare arcade cabinets. I never experienced them personally, and I missed out. However, again, it was thanks to Ephraim's LP, and I saw Outer Space, which ironically was the same course featured in the anime during the Crystal Cup, rather the Christmas Cup in Japanese. Never a huge fan of James McCloud. He is a Star Fox reference, but he's more of a scoundrel than anything else. He lost himself, and cash was the only driving force, not friendship, not love for his family, not even his heart. He's an underwhelming pilot to use. His fate is unknown. He serves his very long prison, or perhaps even cold sleep. So another exhausting lap done. It was a complete drag to make, involving James and the Galaxy Dogs. Now it's finally off to the glorious championship. See you then. Alright, see you guys at the championship.